All righty, good Wednesday morning. This is Dr. Bill Williams from Atlanta, Georgia, live with the Influencers Podcast today. I want to thank you for joining us together, and be sure that you click on the QR code, which corner ever it lives in. Find out more about the Influencer Podcast and what we're doing here in the Influencer Podcast land. I want to bring in today an excellent speaker, Matt Brill, owner of Black Cloud Designs, coming to us from Gilbert, Arizona. Thank you for joining us early in your day, Matt. I appreciate you being here.
Hey, man, thanks for having me. This is going to be fun.
Yeah, you definitely caught my attention when we were talking. You have a quote that I see on LinkedIn that really stood out to me. Mark Twain said, "Find a job you enjoy doing, and you will never work a day in your life." So you have really found your niche and your happy place. Tell us about what you do. What is Black Cloud Designs, and how'd you get there?
Yeah, so I'm a marketing consultant, and I work with small to medium-sized businesses that need help either with digital or full marketing capabilities, and everything from web design, email, print, logo, branding, all of it. So video, photo, kind of a one-stop shop. You know, if your budget kind of fits with what I can do for you, then we kind of make things work. Obviously, big corporations and things like that, and national companies, I refer out to someone with a larger agency, right? But it's nice to work like this because I can get my hands on everything, and then now I know exactly where everything is. So that was kind of the Black Cloud Designs in a whole, is that we want to put the customer as the most important piece, right? And so in order to do that, I think sometimes being a little bit more hands-on is better. So
sounds like you're working with a warm, fuzzy group. You're not working with the cold masses. You've got a niche of small businesses that you like to work with, and you feel at home with those guys.
Yeah. I do have a couple of larger I do have a national company, but at the same time, there's still they have that kind of mindset, right? And yeah, it's just a more organic experience for me. I've done the, cost per minute sort of thing, and it's just not for me, and I'm much more of a free spirit, you might say. So getting into marketing and design and all of this is, from when I was a little kid, I knew I was going to do this. So I think, was it a Super Bowl ad many years ago? The Coca-Cola Bears, they came out and they had the football, and I was watching that with my dad, and I was like, I could do that. I could come up with ideas like that, because we were asking. I was like, first I had to ask. I was really young. I was like, are those real? And my dad laughed, but it was just kind of like that first thing where it's like, you can just think of cool ideas like this for a job, and that was fun. So that's kind of how I got into this whole path to begin with. Was this is what I enjoy doing, and my firm belief is that you'll never be successful if you don't enjoy what you do. So pick something that's really important to you and stick with it.
Yeah, I kind of followed some of the same path. I studied under J. Conrad Levinson, who was the guerrilla marketing expert, of course, and he came up with the Pillsbury Doughboy, the Marlboro Man, many other icons of advertising. And I got a certificate of being an instructor in the institute that he ran, because in dentistry, there weren't too many other dentists who were associated with guerrilla marketing. And so I figured, I can fill that niche and bring guerrilla marketing to dentistry. And you've done that sort of thing too. You bring your expertise to your local niche. Some of the places you actually enjoy working would be what areas?
What do you mean by places? Like types of work that I do, or location, or what do you mean?
Types of businesses.
Types of businesses. So, for me, it's purpose-driven brands. I've worked with the soap companies. I've worked with the e-com retail guys, and I have clients like that, and they're good people and they do well. But for me, it's the ones that are trying to make a difference or trying to make the world a better place with their product. Those are the ones that I really want to help out. And it doesn't mean like every one of them is a nonprofit or anything like that. I'm not, like that. It's just a matter of, when you talk to the business owner, you get that feeling, you get that vibe, and it's okay. This person wants to do the right thing, and that's just what I'm looking for. There's a lot of us out there. There's a lot of me, right? And for me to be able to find some people that are trying to make a difference one way or the other, and then help them get their word out there, I think it's a lot of fun. It's powerful, and so that's kind of where I'm trying to be.
Like that's your motivator. That's your push button that makes you get up and go every morning. Find some purpose-driven brand that you can get behind, so you can put more effort in it because you believe in it, not just because you're doing it for the dollar.
Yeah, I mean, we do it for the dollar, right? Because I got family to feed, but at the same time, they watch what I do. I have two daughters. One's 13, one's 10, and when you ask what motivates me internally, that's those little ladies are by far it. And for me to be able to tell them about the campaigns or the ads or the marketing strategy that I'm working on, and have them be excited about it, it's cool to see, and hopefully, maybe one day they follow the same path and take this over for me. But the big thing is I want them to understand is that you don't have to just do what everybody tells you to do. You don't just have to do the step-by-step approach that everybody says to go through and just go work some 9-to-5 job, because I mean, here lately we've seen a big shift in that. The 9-to-5 job for a lot of people is leaving, and they're finding that becoming an entrepreneur isn't that hard. And to help those people see their dream is also a motivator. So it's kind of like a little algorithm I have in my head of perfection of what I want to see, when I do have a client reach out to me. But overall, I think it's just doing the next right thing, and that's enough.
When you say you used to be in more of the corporate world, now you're working as a solopreneur almost. What did you find that was the failure of the old way of doing things that led you to kind of take on this new persona of doing it as a free spirit?
I would say probably being a chameleon is a good thing, right? It's like being able to kind of make some changes, do some different things, and find whatever fits and just make it work, right? But at the same time, you're going to make some mistakes and you're going to screw up a few times. I worked a 9-to-5 job for over 10 years. They were great to me. I loved it. I learned so much, and I was given so much latitude to be able to experiment and do the things that I needed to do to learn to get to where I am today. And sometimes I think the way that I left that place, which I gave like a 3-month notice or 2-month notice or something like that. But, when I left, it just, you feel like, man, I had something good there. You know what I mean? And that was special. That was a chapter of the book that I wish maybe went on a few more pages. But then in hindsight, saying that, if I'd never left and gone off to do an agency sort of thing, it's I wouldn't be here where I am today. So it was a culmination of a couple of missteps and just keeping your head in the fire and getting to get to where I am now. I think the big thing was I learned that 1, you can't control everything, and 2 is you have to be consistent. And those 2 things were probably my big learning point for me.
Sure. Now, you've seen a lot of people in business as you help market. You see people take your advice, people that don't take your advice. What are some of the things people do that cause them to fail in the face of good advice?
I would say, it's going to take, it's like 3 things. So 1, you got to have a good product. You got to, in this day, market and age with the digital landscape, it takes 5 minutes for someone to find everything else about you. Maybe some people can't do that, but it's easy to find out. So, having a good product is important. I've seen that where it's just, hey man, you're a great guy. I want to help you out, but this just isn't the product for you. Let's revamp or make some changes or whatever it is. Right. So I've seen that. I've seen the lack of consistency. I think that's a big one, right? Where if you're not staying in it, or you're like, I just want to try this for a month. Well, SEO, digital marketing, that's not a 1 month campaign. It's just not enough. You need the data, you need the time to build it into something correct, right? So those would be two of the big things. And then the last thing, and this is going to come back to a point you mentioned earlier, is, are you passionate about it? If you're not passionate about what you're doing, it doesn't matter what it is. It will be so more difficult to succeed if you aren't absolutely in it and loving it. So if I could say anything, those are the three things: good product, be consistent, and love what you do.
Quality. Consistency is the new currency. Love that book.
Yeah.
Talks about incremental success, 1% improvement every day. And then finally, culture. You got to have the culture. Sounds like a winning combination to me. Now that kind of goes along with some success secrets you've developed for your Black Cloud designs. What would they be called? Your secrets that you really stand out as doing above and beyond the competition?
I don't even know if I would call them secrets or, anything that others can't do. I'm a big believer in just staying in what you know and doing what you know until you're prepared to, take that next step. And continuing education is huge, but I don't overstretch myself by any means. I think a lot of people, they're like, well, I'm just going to figure it out. I'll just get it and then I'll figure it out, which is great. And if you're trying to grow and boom, that's good. But I want to be consistently the best version of myself to whoever decided to send me a check, right? And if I'm overstretched, or if, the moment I get overstretched or overworked or low on time, quality starts to drop. And I don't want that. It's just that's not for me. So I always said that if I keep the quality as like the main piece of the pie, then my clients will hopefully stay with me. So I think that's the first one. Another thing, we're going to run right back to it. Like you said it again, right? Consistency. As long as you're consistently showing up for your clients, for your customers, they're going to notice that. They're going to appreciate it, right? And I can't tell you how many times where I've been sitting somewhere talking with the kids or having lunch or walking the dog and something hits me, right? And it's like, you just send it right there. Send it to the client. You're like, see what they have to say. When you get back to your desk, you guys can go through it, and it's like, if you're always kind of thinking, and that comes back to enjoying what you do. If you enjoy what you do, then this isn't a work task. This is, I have an idea. And so that comes back to that. And then, gosh, the last thing I would say, and this is going to sound silly, artificial intelligence. AI has come so far in the last year and a half, and it's a big help for those that decide to use it correctly. Obviously, you can't set it and forget it with artificial intelligence by any means, but it makes so many workflows easier, makes so many things take less time than what it used to. That's a big blessing for me for what I do. But at the same time, I also don't just drop some AI into a word page, or something like that. So it's important, but those are the things. And maybe you could drop that down into something where work on your workflows, right? Whether you can automate anything or whether you can, SOP your workflows. It's important, right, to have those things gauged out. So I would say those are a good top three. But
yeah, I agree with all three. And when you were talking, the first one really sunk in with me because back in my early career, I've been a dentist for 50 years, believe it or not. And I read a book, I think it was Tom Peters, or one of those early guys that talked about In Search of Excellence and things that we built our practice on back in the 80s. And it was one point he said, stick to the knitting, do what you do, stay within your lane, those kinds of ideas. And then you mentioned that continuing education is required before you can implement. You've got to become an expert. And I always kept that in mind. And I took about 10 years to learn a particular topic well and became excellent. But luckily I had 50 years, 5 decades to learn different things. So I got to be pretty good as an expert in everything. Yeah. And so you could stick to the knitting, but it may take a long time to become good at everything.
Yeah, no, it's not an overnight success by any means. But as far as marketing goes, there's so much education out there. You can YouTube or Google search most of it, and there's 1,000 different certifications and things like that. But if you're in marketing, never stop learning. I started out back in high school learning Photoshop 6. That was my first experience into Adobe product, right? And so now we're into Adobe CC whatever version. And if I just said, no, I'm just going to stick with this, I'd be a dinosaur already. So yeah, continuing education is huge. And 50 years from now, we'll see how far I am. We'll see where I'm at. But that's an impressive track record, Bill.
Absolutely. Why don't we go through a lightning round, a couple of quick questions and answers. What's your company motto out there, Matt?
Don't really have one. It's just not a thing for what I do. I got a thing that says "Let It Rain" on my website. I just thought it was kind of catchy with the Black Cloud designs, but really no motto. It's just me.
Well, you and I talked about Black Cloud Designs as the name. Tell us about the name itself. Where did it come from?
Yeah, so my uncle and my dad were a couple of hellions back in the day, and it started with my uncle first. Anything he did, they call him Black Cloud. He'd make a mistake or something would that it always follow him over his head, right? And then when my dad got older, he was driving a truck and had the similar kind of track record of stuff, right? And so he passed away a couple of years ago, and when I was sitting here, I was like, got to come up with a name, got to do something, Brill marketing. Come on. No, I was like, let's honor those guys about this one. So it's not honor, but yeah, I was thinking about my dad on that one. Yeah.
Yeah. It means something to you. And that's the key.
Yeah. Yes. It in my own personal world, it definitely means something important.
Yeah. I think it's a story worth telling too, Matt, to reflect back on where you came from.
And that's where I've gotten a lot of my do what you love sort of thing, right? My dad said it all the time. And my dad was a tool and die maker, right? He'd come home every day cussing about engineers and this and that or the other. He worked on the machines that built the parts for Maytag washers, right? And
the ones that last forever.
Yeah, the ones that last forever. They don't last forever as well anymore. But he'd always talk about Old Lonely. That was their marketing guy, the tech that he was so bored that he never had anything to do. He said that was not true. But he said, son, you need to do what you love. Don't come home like me and, like this, right? And, enjoy your work, whatever it is. Find it and love it. And, and then on the other side, my mother was a great artist, and I'd paint with her all the time. And then I hit high school, and I met a very special individual, and I just want to tell him thank you, Mr. Stuart Buck. If you happen to catch this, thank you. You steered me down this path, so I really appreciate it. He was my high school art teacher. Incredible man, retired now, but an incredible painter himself. But he pushed me towards this digital side. I didn't even know what it was until he explained it to me. So who knew it would turn into this, 15, 20 years later. But yeah, that's kind of the whole story behind how I kind of got to where I am, I guess you'd say.
Excellent. Thank you for sharing that heartwarming story. Why would somebody buy from you?
Honestly, I don't even like to answer that question, Bill. And the reason why is because maybe you shouldn't. I'm not for everybody. And there's a lot of people out there that maybe do it better than me, right? But I'd love to have the conversation and maybe give you some free advice and see if it does fit. And then we can kind of go from there. But as far as why should someone buy from you, I think I like the question from one side of things, but at the other side, I like to be honest and just say, maybe you shouldn't. We'll talk about it and figure out, because if you have a $800,000, $900,000 $1 million marketing budget, you don't want one guy running your ship. So, but at the same time, if you're looking to fix your digital presence, if you're looking to build your SEO value, if you're looking for a raise in your brand's quality and the quality of content that comes out and having everything kind of wrapped together, That's really what I like to do, and attack it from multiple fronts. So if that sounds familiar, right? Or if you're like, what's a Google My Business profile? Yeah, give me a call.
Well, I like the honesty, and I like the fact that you know your niche and you know who you want to work with, and you just don't take on accounts because you get the dollar. Who's your
Yeah.
ideal client?
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Who's your ideal client?
I love working with nonprofits because they care so much about what they're doing. So, at the same time, nonprofits don't have marketing money from a large aspect. So I do a couple of websites and videos for nonprofit organizations. And then service-based companies are great. I have an HVAC company that I work with. They're a veteran-owned company, and while they don't, they don't quite do a nonprofit or purpose-driven brand product like what you might think, right? They are a veteran-owned company, and after talking with the owners and knowing one of them for several years, right, they have a great message, and they want to do the right thing. The name is Steadfast Mechanical, and for example, right now they're working on something called this Paw First initiative that we've built out, and they're giving a veteran here in Arizona, in my home state, of a service dog. Now, both of the owners of the company are veterans. They both have their own service dog. And so when we were talking about things and what we were going to do for the spring campaign to try to launch in the summer, he was like, should we give away an HVAC unit? Should we do like a mini split, which is something you throw in the garage to cool or heat your garage, which down here we don't have basements, so that's an attractive feature. But the thing that really got me was he was like, well, could we give away, could we adopt a dog? We trained it. He's like, so because we were talking about his service dog and that he's in the middle of training right now. And we started, and I'm like, I love this idea. It wasn't even my idea. And he's like, you can take it. You tell him that it was your idea. I was like, no, I can't do that. But it was one hell of an idea. So we're going to give away a service dog to a veteran in need here this Memorial Day, which is amazing. But they want to continue it. They want to keep that going. And working with other companies to try to grow this into something different. Maybe it's going to turn into a nonprofit for the company or not. We're still working on that, see how successful it is. But companies with that mindset, that just because I'm doing a job doesn't mean that I can't help out my fellow neighbor. And anyone with that mentality, I would love to work with.
Sounds like a real passion that you have, and it morphed into something very useful for the community and individuals. Paw First, right?
Paw First, yes. It's steadfastmech.com/Paw First. Any Arizona veterans down here, we'd love to get your submission if it's important. But that's just one example, right? In what I mentioned before, I worked at that fertilizer company. I do have a big passion in agriculture. I just love it. And especially in the fertility side of things, that was an organic fertilizer company, but one of the companies I work with now, Cultivates, is a fertilizer company out of Oregon. They're nationwide. And I love working with those guys. They're, agriculture people are so down to earth. They know what they want. It doesn't need to be super flashy, right? But it needs to be high quality and educationally accurate. And those guys, they're just a blast to work with. So a lot of ag clients, I'd love to hear from more of them.
Yeah, I like that. That was kind of a cool play on words, that agriculture people are down to earth. That's beautiful.
I must be getting old because the puns come out on their own now. So I didn't even mean that one.
Naturally perfect. Do you have any particular online platforms you used as a marketer that you rely on?
As far as what I rely on, I stay on to as far as online like platforms like social media, things like that. Yeah, TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, YouTube. But the thing for me is, I'm just kind of basically showcasing a little bit of my work. I'm not a true post you every day, teach you about something influencer on social media. I just kind of flashed a little bit of my work there. Most of my work is spent on my clients. So, and and I'm sure there's quite a few people screaming at the screen right now. No, you need to grow yourself. And it's like, yes, but at the same time, it's for me, it's almost just more of a hobby and connecting with other people. I don't. I'm good where I'm at, and I'm enjoying myself, and that sort of stuff just comes secondary for me. I don't quite push it as much as maybe other people do. Then again, I do social media for clients. So, when you're always plugged into them, I leave my stuff to the side. But yeah.
Is there a well-defined product or service when you offer it out to the public that you want to promote?
Well, I think every good basis of any good company starts with a full audit, and it with any marketer, right? When I'm going to sit down and talk with you about your business X, Y, or Z, it doesn't matter. I need to know everything that you've got going on first before I can tell you what you should do, right? So I always audit everyone. It really doesn't even come down to, I don't even charge for that. It's just a step in my process. Then from there, we go through and we look at your digital presence. If your digital presence isn't where I feel like it should be, my personal belief is that your first step is fix your digital presence. So if we do get you traffic, it looks good and it works, right? And then I think the next step is customer experience. If your customers have a poor experience with you as a brand, it doesn't matter if your website is awesome or if you have a cool landing page or whatever, you won't keep your customer. And if your CLV is a very short term, then maybe that works for you. But in my experience, the most that I've seen is a good customer experience means it's going to be a good brand. And so those are my first two focuses, whether it's web design or email or lead generation or whatever it is. That's secondary to finding and making sure that those two top level things are on point. And then we go from there.
Yeah, customer experience has to be acceptable to get to the second level. You can never go beyond.
Never. And, so few people, I think, at least business owners that, they understand their niche, their market, their passion, right? They don't think about that from the customer side. They don't take that journey from the customer. And it's so hard for a business owner, right? Because, if you have a staff of people, they're ready to, give you everything that you need, right? But this customer that walks in the door or calls on the phone or sends an email, right? And then they don't get a response for a day or 2 days, or they get, kind of brushed off, or they don't get treated like the owner would get treated. That's a customer experience problem. And, you need to audit yourself and your own business occasionally on that to make sure that it's good. I think that's a standard practice that would be helpful for a lot of businesses.
Is there anything that you find that is most valuable for a platform to have that really sets it apart from those who don't have it?
That the platform that you're working with, it really depends on who your target customer is. If your target customer is most people over the age of 35, TikTok probably isn't your first social platform that you want to start with. So I would say, make sure that your target audience enjoys the platform that you're looking to work with, right? From there, valuable features. I would say the ability to just instantly reach out and connect with anyone is so huge. So if you get a follow, send them a message. Have a canned message ready, or send them. I had a business coach that I talked to for a while, Alex. I'm gonna plug you on this one, buddy. He sends videos every time he gets a new follower. He sends a personal thank you video to that individual. And I'm like, that's such an organic, simple way to show appreciation for someone who's willing to follow you. That I think that's a really cool thing that you can do. And that kind of value of just being able to connect with anyone or everyone at the same time is really cool. So that's something that, we didn't have 20 years ago.
So that's a good little jewel that you dropped on us there. Whenever you get a new follower, drop a video introduction. Is that custom for each one?
He does it custom for each one. He's a business coach, and so he has that capability to do that. And being the owner of his company, he can get away with that. That's not to say you couldn't do a canned message. Be like, hey, thanks for following us. You know, this is some of the things we're working on. You can click our link in the bio, blah, blah, blah. You can do something like that, simple. But I think just having the awareness to make a reply is a great start, because a lot of people just see the follow and keep moving.
That sounds very much like creating an excellent personal brand. How would you define personal brand as a step in the importance of a company marketing itself?
Well, personal brand in a lot of terms also kind of is reflected in your reputation, right? So your personal brand is directly connected to your reputation, right? You can't think of any brand and not think of the reputation that it holds, good or bad. And so from that standpoint, you know, you just got to make sure again that you're doing the next right thing. I caught that on a movie the other night, doing the next right thing, and it's so important for any company, right? But to be remembered for that and to know, okay, these guys over here, they care about making sure that it's right. Even maybe if it's not the most profitable, it will be in the long run. And that's, you know, there's metrics to that, but that's my full belief.
I think you're probably hitting on something pretty good there. You know, the next great thing, the next good thing, the ethics of a situation leads to having that reputation, and reputation management is really key.
You know, it is. I've seen it from the other side, and it's not pretty. You know, unfortunately, I've been a part of a brand that had a big blow up and needed some serious PR. It's so much easier if you don't have to go through that. You know, there's things, if for some reason someone in your company did something and now you're seeing a big digital mess online, you know, don't think that it's the end. Understand there's tons of companies out there that can help you with that. I can help you with some things, but you know, I think it goes back to something that you mentioned earlier after you asked me a question, and you said this, something that I've had a few mentors really impress upon me is culture. Is that if you have the right culture, those things will never happen, or they'll happen so few and far between that you won't have to worry about it. So that's kind of where I would stick with it.
Now, if you talk about platforms having good things, sometimes you recognize they're missing something. This is an area that I often explore with experts in the field. What do you feel is missing out there in a social media platform, for instance, that you would like to have it involved in the ones that are used by most people?
You know, I guess I would love to see a conversion of something between like a YouTube and a Yelp. Something that's devised, you know, now Google does it with their reviews, but how many reviews do you see? There's no video, there's no photo, there's nothing like that, right? And Yelp offers that in a sense, right? But I think to be able to take a couple of different platforms or something and bring them together in some type of a video setting for reviews would be so powerful for a brand. If you could get your customers to leave you video reviews on a consistent basis, the trust and the equity you would get from that would be huge. The problem is most customers do not want to take the time to make a 30-second video for someone that they just gave money to, right? So, but for me, I've seen the biggest transition in video testimonials as far as building trust with different customers. So I would like to see something like that. I'm sure someone's already working on something. We've had TikTok for way too long. So whether it gets banned or not, I'm sure there's another social media platform in the wind waiting, whether it's Threads that's going to blow up or whatever. But yeah, video reviews to take on a more mainstream approach would be cool.
Yeah, it's interesting that you talk about that. I started doing video reviews in my dental practice 15 years ago, and I had hundreds of them.
Wow.
And I would just take my camera out at first, but then it turned into my iPhone. And I would just say, hey, I just finished up doing something for you. And they'd already told me they liked it. And I go, hey, would you mind saying that on video? And, you know, we would do a 30-second to a minute and a half. of just me and my patient sitting there kibitzing about what we just finished. And it could be implants, it could be sleep apnea appliances, it could be veneers, whatever it was, but we had fun.
And that's something that so many people don't do. It just would it take you a couple of minutes to do it?
Yeah.
And it's a huge value, right? And and a lot of people, especially when they're there in front of you, that Southern hospitality comes out where they don't want to tell you, well, yeah, I'll do it, So it's asking for it, I think, is
it's
asking
true.
for your
if you
client.
don't have it, it's because you hadn't asked.
Yeah, you won't get what you don't ask for.
I had about a 90% success rate. If I asked, they would do it. 10% were too embarrassed or shy.
Yeah.
1% didn't want their face, on the screen based on whatever. But most people were fine.
That's awesome.
Let's jump over into some personal stuff, talking about what are you grateful for today, Matt?
I wake up in the morning. I get to wake my kids up. I get to take my dogs for a walk. I get to sit down and plug in and enjoy fresh Arizona day. There's not really many things I can't be grateful for at this point.
I think you got the best lifestyle. You got the freedom that a lot of people want.
It's so nice to be able to spend the time with your family and still get things done that you need to get done. And for years, I drive anywhere from a half an hour to an hour to work, half an hour from our home, right? That was almost 2 hours a day that I didn't get to spend time with my family. And I wasn't making any money in the process. I was actually spending money on gas, and it's in this age, the way that we have, the internet and Zoom and everything else, so most of us can work from home. Now, I can't install the toilet from home. I'm going to have to come to your house for that if I'm a plumber. But outside of that, this is just for me, this is a much more comfortable way to live. And so I'm so grateful to be able to watch my kids grow up a little bit closer, be a little bit closer to them, and spend some more time with my wife, with my family, and my dog. Normally she's right here, and just live life, because it's work is work, but it doesn't have to be everything.
Life as a digital nomad has its benefits.
Yes, it does. Yes, it does.
Even if nomad means staying at home, it's still, you're not tied to the old office.
No. And I won't lie. Sometimes I make some coffee call meetings just to get out of the house a little bit, that's, sure. But at the same time, this is a blessing, man. And so if you get a chance to, if you have the opportunity or the skill set to do something like that, consider it, man, because it's amazing.
All right. Here's a question. I know about Arizona quite a bit. I've been there many times. My brother has lived there, my nephew. So I know the heat is big in Arizona. How do you start your day, and what time do you get up?
This is my buddy Brandon's going to yell at me here because he's always talking to me about being consistent and getting up early and getting that workout in. But normally I get up about 6 or 5:30 and make sure my teenager's got enough time to get her face and hair ready for the day, and then kind of get some breakfast going for the girls, make sure they're ready for school, take them to school, and then once they're gone, they're out of the house, have a cup of coffee with the wife, and then I sit down for work. And maybe that's 8:30 or 9, somewhere in there, and then that's the thing of being a digital nomad, you called it. I like that. I'm gonna stick with that. Is I can work till I need to work or not, and so
or not
starting out that day with those 2 beautiful little angels, it just doesn't get any better.
You're a dad, you're a husband, then you're a worker bee.
Something like that. Yeah, for sure. It's for me, it's just, and there's been days where I've had to wake up and go run and do stuff or go do a photo shoot or video shoot. And it's definitely not the same, man. You come home and you're like, they're not there anymore. They're at school and you're waiting for them to get off. And it's, for me, starting the day with the kids and the wife, that's nice. Cause like I said, for years, I used to wake up, get out the door, and then I wouldn't see anybody until 5 or 6 o'clock at night, and that's just, for me, that's not a way to live anymore.
Yeah. For anybody listening in the audience, the digital nomad life, it's something to be desired, something you can look forward to. Take
Yep.
a
It's
note
not
from that.
unattainable by any means. Not in today's age.
What advice would you give yourself if you're talking to your 20-year-old self again?
Oh gosh. Move. Don't date that girl. Be more consistent. No, I would say probably the most important advice, knowing me when I was 20, would have been to learn more now. So when I was 20, I felt like I knew a lot, right? And up to about, I'd say 25, 26, I thought I knew everything. And to just tell myself, you don't, get out there and start learning it. You're not as prepared for life as what you think you are. That would have made my mid 20s a lot easier.
I'm
sure.
sure. I'm sure. We all wish we could do it right the first time. How do you want to be remembered when it's all said and done?
I did the next right thing. That's
good enough.
It's enough. It's like, that I'm going to try to do my best. And that's all I can ask for you to think of me. Right. And from there,
so how can we reach you? How can people find out about Black Cloud Designs?
You can send me a message to my website, blackclouddesigns.com. I'm pretty personable. You can give me a call. Just look me up through there. Send me an email, Matt@BlackCloudDesigns. You can get me on Black Cloud Designs Co. on Instagram, Facebook, or TikTok. I'm an open book. So if you ever need to reach out or ask a question, I get a lot of people. I got a few friends who've got small businesses. They'll call and, well, what should I do here? It's like 15 seconds of advice is nothing for me, 20 seconds or whatever it is. Now, if we're starting to talk about, well, okay, can you look this up and get back to me and we build a strategy? Yeah, I sure can send you an invoice, sir. But, for the quick stuff, I love to help people out. So
sounds like you're saying your motto should be a friend in need is a friend indeed.
Yeah. Yes. That's an old school one. Yes. I do like that too.
And your man's best friend, talking about your Paw First work, you're helping out with the Paw Patrol. As my kids like to watch.
Yeah, dude. Oh, mine were all about Paw Patrol. Steadfast Mechanical's website is steadfastmech, mech.com/Paw First. If you're not a veteran, but you still want to help them donate, you can schedule a service call or a tech call or whatever it is. And, they donate a portion of your service call to this initiative for what they're doing. The big goal there is if they get enough donations, they're going to start adding more dogs and more veterans. So it's not a completely locked in thing yet. And sorry, Jared, if I just spilled the beans on that, but that's a really good company. So if you get a chance and you're here local in Arizona, hit them up. They're doing a good thing right now for people.
Perfect. What do you have to say about your experience on the show today?
Full transparency, Dr. Bill, this is my first podcast, and this has been a lot of fun. So
you did well.
It's nice to kind of get some of this information out there to people, right? Not a lot of people just kind of ask these sorts of questions on a regular basis. So I just think podcasts are a blast, and this was a really easy experience. You did great, and if there's anything that, if anybody's questioning it or should I do it, give it a try, because this was fun.
Absolutely. Thank you for that word. And I want to give you the final word to the audience before we head out, and it's all yours.
Yeah, if you're an entrepreneur or influencer or digital marketer or whatever it is, insert whatever it is within these kind of niches here, right? I would say, be consistent, care about your product, but care about your customer more, because at the end of the day, they're the ones paying your bills. And if you're not focused and interested on their interests first, then it just kind of, you'll struggle. And if you're younger, if you don't have that experience, focus on that continuing education. If you're older and you have a lot of experience, focus on that continuing education and just do the next best thing.
Do the next best thing. There you have it from Matt Brill of Black Cloud Designs from Gilbert, Arizona. Thank you for being on the show today, Matt. Excellent work, and glad we could be your first podcast experience. Now, if you guys are looking for something to set you free, click on my QR code. This will get you to my digital business card so you can find out all about what I'm doing. All the different episodes of the Influencer Podcast are right there. And all about what else I'm doing, of course, is on there. The AI business is what we specialize in. SaaS products with AI built into it, AI technology. So come aboard and look at what we have. For instance, if you want to build a QR code, we give away a free product called OTrim, where we can customize a long URL, or we can go up and make a QR code out of that same URL. And it's trackable, and you can know where it comes from, where it's going, who's logging in from where, and all kind of good things. So with that, I want to sign off for the Influencer Podcast right now. And we got another show coming up. But Matt, you were excellent as our first guest of today. And I want to thank you for being part of Influencer Podcast Academy's group of guests. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Dr. Bill. I appreciate it.
You're welcome. Take care, guys. I'll see you in a little while.